this is the reason why having a fixed team becomes a problem, because even a group that starts with a lot of different ways of thinking will eventually converge around similar ways of thinking on some problems that they've solved. So there's this thing called cognitive entrenchment, which basically is that once you've become successful at something, it becomes harder to think of other ways to do that something. So you get entrenched in your successful way of approaching the problem. So yeah, this ragtag group of defenders from the Battle of New Orleans, they might now think that their way of defending a city is the best way, and it might prevent them from thinking of a better way next time when someone comes and they have to adapt. And this is how disruption happens in business. Is companies successful and its leaders, are smart. And ironically, the success and the smarts leads them to not be able to see a different way of solving the problem, which leads them to be open to someone else disrupting them. So the short answer to how do you prevent that is to continually import diverse thinking into your team. Bring in new people. If it's not permanent members of the team, bring in new types of thinking. This is why consultants have jobs, basically. Even if the consultants aren't right, they bring in new perspectives that cause a group to sort of shake their snow globe of thinking. But it's why reading broadly, it's why getting a broad brain trust and rotating that is really important. And it's also why I think shuffling teams every once in a while, when you notice that we do the same thing over and over, we're really good at this, it's now time to switch things up. That becomes really interesting. You want to be deliberate about that. There's some things that there's no danger of being disrupted. We've solved the assembly line problem, so we're going to do the assembly line. But if there's a danger of someone inventing a better assembly line, then if you don't switch up the team or have something to jolt the team into different thinking, then you will be open to disruption. So I think it's a really good point. It's something that people don't talk about a lot when they talk about diverse thinking or diversity in general, which I don't know how it is where you guys are, but in America, diversity is sort of synonymous with demographics, which are very correlated to different ways of thinking because you've lived different lives, you have different demographics. But when you're talking about diverse groups of any sort, the more time you spend together and the more successful you are, the more you start to think similarly. So you got to switch things up or jolt yourself somehow into thinking differently.